Okay. Yeah, push rods. So let's see if how this comes up here. I just put this together tonight. And are all of you or most of you familiar with the tortoise machines? Any?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Uh, so I'm just going to do a little. Let me move this out of the way. Bump, bump. So the one thing with the push rods is that you can see up at the top here. There's the hand throw, not the hand throw. The
Harp stand.
thank you, the harp stand, which is lined up right across from the head block. It's on the head block, and it's perpendicular. The rod would be to the track. So that was one of the things that were key, of course, is because the rod that I'm using, it's a wood rod, and it has no bend to it. And then I had conversations with Charlie and DC around how to mitigate some others that I have at an angle. But anyway, so the first thing is just to line that up. So find which ones are perpendicular. And this hole here was holes that were drilled at one point when I was going to use that. Is it Barnett or somebody? He makes these touch buttons, and but we weren't able to make those work. So I thought the reason that I chose this was because when I'd throw the turnout or throw the switch, there'd be the juice would be coming from both closure rails. But I found that something in the motor must have burned out because it wasn't throwing the switch, it wasn't throwing the rails. So I thought, okay, maybe this is the time when I start trying to convert this to manual. And this is how they're pretty much set up. And I just discovered something tonight that I don't know about. At least I thought I knew about. As you can see, here's the throw rod that goes and connects to the rails, the fly rails above. And along here, it's an orange and then a red, a black, a white, and then a brown. And I always thought somebody's got some sound bleeding through their microphone. You might want to put yourself on mute, please. I always thought the ends went to the they went to the decoder that would allow for the polarity switch, and the red and the black goes to the truss. I mean the bus, the track bus, and then the white, of course, goes right up to the frog. But as I said, with a couple of these, they weren't thrown from the throttle, and I wanted to convert these to a push rod. So where I went was just to line it up. I'm going to skip this one. I chose a 3/16 inch rod, and I found this plastic tubing at a local hardware store because the hole that I would drill needed to be as big as that plastic tubing so that the rod would be snug. And I would cut the plastic tubing just a little bit wider than the fascia. The rod would be inserted into plastic tubing, like I say, to keep it snug. And then I acquired these screw eyes, which just drill a hole at the end, as you could see. And this would be attached to the whoops. This would be attached to the screw into the tortoise. Now the one on the left, these are just knobs I happen to have, and there's a hole in the end. Just put a screw in to attach it to the rod. And here you can see the rod and it's inserted into that plastic tube, and it runs directly to the tortoise, and they work great. I know, some people were saying, well, it sticks out, people are going to catch, blah, blah. I haven't had any issues with people catching their clothes or anything on those yet. So I've only got 2 or 3 installed. We'll see how this goes as I continue.
That's because I haven't been up there yet.
Interesting that you say that. Okay. All right. I will, see. I think I'll have to do something about that, DC, when you come up.
DC proof it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Any recommendations on how to do that? Okay. Let's see. Here we go. The next one. So this is one of the ones that was an angle. And I found this universal that came with a turntable. And I thought, oh, this will be perfect because it'll be able to angle as I push it. But the one thing I didn't think about was when you push it, it just pushes the universal. So this thing would have to be anchored somehow so that the rod stays straight. And then that's when I was talking to Charlie, and Fast Tracks, which I've ordered them, Charlie, makes this great, it's a plastic tube and there's a solid rod that goes in the inside, and they're equipped with brackets so that you can anchor them, and they will be able to make the turn so that I can use the throw rod at an angle. So anyhow, that's what I've been up to. Let's see. I think, yep. And
If the
of course,
Fast Tracks rods system
yeah.
can make as sharp as a 6-inch radius curve and work.
You mean the tube can be
Yeah,
angled?
the radius of between the straight point can be 6 inches.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
what I used on mine.
Got it. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. Just a real quick, that's what I've been up to. I've also been installing reins and traces on the wagons. I've been doing some research on how harnesses were rigged, and I'll have a brief thing to do next time we do this. I wasn't able to put the presentation together, but it's fascinating how rabbit hole you can get in wanting to do some of the details on this stuff. I mean, the harnesses, especially for even if it's in the distance, you can see the harnesses, you can see the reins, and it's very cool. So I'm just having a great time, working some more nuances in the visual effects to, bring it to more of an authentic look. And then we'll have an op session here in about a week or so, and I'll see if all the work I've been doing on the turnouts has been paying off, because I've had to clean up one turnout on a closure rail because it wasn't supplying power, and I put a jumper in. Then I thought, you know what, I better check all my turnouts. Sure enough, there was 8 of them that weren't functioning right. 8 of them. So fortunately, there was only a couple that needed the points, because I do have some point turnouts as well as stubs. The points just needed to be filed so they could connect to the stock rail. That was an easy fix. Then there was a couple of others where it was just the rail joiners weren't conducting juice. So I moved those back and forth, and then that conducted. So I fixed about 4 or 5 of them just with little things like that. But now I got to figure out about jumpers. And I've started to use the frog juicers, and they weren't working. I come to realize the frog juicer cannot go through a circuit breaker. It has to go directly to the command station. So now I've got to figure out a way to put a new bus in. So a whole nother dimension of wiring has just opened its head up to me. So Charlie, I'll be giving you a call tomorrow.
All of my turnout controls are manual. And so the ones that, we can reach, we just use the little ground throws.
Yep.
And then the ones that are in the kind of middle of the peninsula, for a similar sort of problem, I've used the radio control airplane control cables. And those, it has an outer sheath.
Right.
And then a kind of an inner plastic rod. And you can, they have clevises and male threaded parts you can put on the ends of it to connect to your, I use Blue Point
Right.
controllers, but something very similar to that.
Cool. Good. All right. So you ready to go, Charlie?
Yeah, I probably got a whopping 2 minutes or something, but let me shrink this down a tad. This is always the hardest part right here, is remembering how to do this. Man, you guys have got some whiskers going on out there. That's all right.
Yeah. Look at Jesus, Roger.
Roger.
Is that legal? You're on mute. Yeah.
Just as long as I don't get too close to anybody and impale somebody with that handlebar mustache I've got going now.
Dang.
I've invested in some wax and finally got it under sort of control. I need to trim the lower half here, though.
I think Bill's a an impersonator for Santa on special occasions.
all right, let me try this again. All right. We sharing?
Yes. Whoa, lots of stuff.
No, it's not much. So an update.
On the
I
back.
got recovered. I recovered from my COVID that I got the second day of our train meet down here. But I was sick for about a month. It was anyway, I'm over that, over Christmas with the 9 grandchildren, and just kind of slowly getting back up to the railroad. But all right, well, kill this. So the Memphis and Charleston Railroad, my railroad, Memphis, and historically was the western headquarters. Huntsville was the eastern headquarters, but the line continued to Stevenson, Alabama, and there joined the Nashville and Chattanooga, and they shared track into Chattanooga. But each of the headquarters was self-sufficient. I mean, each could build a complete locomotive if they wanted. They had a machine shop, blacksmith horse, a car shop, foundry, and probably a couple boilers and at least one big stationary engine. And so in going to Savannah in, I think it's 2018 when we were there, it just intrigued me, these big smokestacks that were always a part of a railroad complex. They had a machine shop and blacksmith horse. And, I just was kind of expecting that there'd be a fireplace at the bottom, but there isn't. All right. So it's kind of interesting. And so I wanted to put a smokestack in Huntsville like there was. And there's also one in Memphis, but I probably don't have room. I probably won't do that. So we were there in 2018, and you can see the smokestack at the bottom. I won't give everything away yet, but it is adjacent to the machine shop that had several blacksmith hearths. That's the lower building. And just off to the left was where they had the stationary engine and the boiler. And so, it was a line shaft situation. Steam engine drove the shaft that went into the machine shop, but they also had the hearths in there as well. And so rather than smoke up the machine shop and smoke up the boiler room, they dug tunnels, and they're lined with brick below the machine shop, below the boiler, and probably they started a fire in the brick tunnel below the smokestack to get a draft going, and after that it was self-sustaining, like a chimney is. But this was a great trip. That's one of my favorite trips we've taken, that trip to Savannah. But
Me
here's
too.
the stack, and it was completed 1855. I think it's got 16 sides to it, but it's fascinating. I mean, it's 125 feet high, and there's this beautiful ornate cast iron, like a bundt pan. You bake a cake with, it's got the kind of the hole in the middle, and this surrounded the base of the smokestack, and below that were, say, a dozen or 16 washrooms. And so it collected rainwater. I suspect sometimes they could pump water in there as well, but it was at least heated. It wasn't boiled or anything like that, but you could take a warm shower, or wash your hands with warm water. Okay, and here's some close-ups of when we were there. It's a beautiful thing. You see those kind of earthquake bands around the brick chimney, and the ornate cast iron tank. And again, is I think it's 16 doorways into these stalls or showers. Several years ago, I was in Charleston, and I photographed the same situation, same smokestack, and this is in the old rail yard area of Charleston, and I think this is 8-sided, or maybe 8-sided, and there's kind of a heavier brick base.
Yeah.
And then there's this trim element, or of either stones or cement, kind of right there where the base meets the smokestack. And so keep an eye on that. So that's Charleston.
And again, was that also for personal washing and hygiene and stuff?
On that one,
Yeah.
no, I didn't. There wasn't anything on that one. There were some kind of vent, or like firebox doors you can see kind of just beside that pickup truck just to the left. So I imagine those were, maybe for cleaning something out, or starting an initial fire to get the thing drawn. But there weren't any washrooms on this one. All right, and so there are not many early pictures of the Memphis yard, but this is maybe the most famous. So this is about 1880, and you're looking right into the crotch of the roundhouse, if you will. Okay, you can see the lead going into it, and you can see kind of the ends of the roundhouse, left and right of the turntable, and then kind of right there about in the middle, you can see the smokestack here in Memphis.
Wow.
And again, it's polygonal. You could make a small case that it's square. It kind of looks like you can see one kind of edge to it. But anyway, so again, this is probably like a 80 to 90 foot smokestack in Memphis. And again, it's it's close to the roundhouse. A lot of these early stations, you know, you could take a locomotive through the roundhouse into the machine shop. And so these smokestacks would be adjacent to the machine shop and near the stationary engine with the boiler.
One interesting thing about that photo is the lack of ballast. That's remarkable.
Yeah, isn't it great? It's just like on the mud flats. It's
Yep.
it's pretty nasty. And another, it's a great photo, and you can see the ground throws that they used. In fact, you can see, you know, like 3 or 4 of them in the photo, and they didn't use harp stands. It was just kind of that other throw that I forgot. Oh man, I forgot that famous book that we steal a lot of stuff from. But anyway, that's one of the types of the era were like these. And this is also what was in Nashville and I think Atlanta too. Yeah.
In front of the center of the roundhouse, is that a wood rick or what's?
Yeah, right. There's a platform just beside one of the leads to the turntable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not a lot of wood on it, but yeah, that was a big platform for you know, picking up wood coming and going.
Those switch stands, it looks like they would just be pushed.
Right.
There's no lever or anything. It's just similar to the harp stand, right? It just get pushed.
Right, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you, in addition to pushing it to and from the rail, if you kind of pushed it in line to get into a notch or not, you know,
Right.
To keep it from moving. I've never seen one of those
Wow.
in person, but it's a great photo. I mean, there are a lot of locomotives. I mean, you can see a lot of stacks. It's an 11 stall roundhouse, just like Huntsville. And in fact, yeah, I mean, obviously this is the sister city to Huntsville and the railroad. So they're, both of them were built within a few years of each other.
I like the stack of ties over there on the right-hand side.
Yeah. And
Just
another thing is, I mean, Memphis is relatively flat, but you can just see a cut, if you will. You can see a mound right there on the right side where they had to make a cut, you know, to put the complex in.
Mm.
And this is where I want to do that on my layout too. I want to have a mound that has that LOES, that LOES, or I don't know, I'm sure about the second S, but you know, it's kind of an alluvial, not topsoil, but a ground stone dust left over from the glaciation.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful stuff. It's just beautiful, pale yellow. And so anyway, there are actually some state parks around Memphis that feature these huge mounds of loess that were washed down or pushed down by the glaciers and then have undergone erosion.
I know it's not, but it looks like it's a cow next to that rock cut there.
Yeah, it does. Facing us.
Yeah.
Right.
On the foreground, on the right-hand side, that switch stand looks like it has a rod going out to, you know, go out the right side. Like coming towards us.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
don't understand unless I'm just seeing it funny.
well, you're right. There's a switch. I mean, a turnout right. Well, yeah.
Yeah, foreground right.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I may be looking at. It looks like it's got the, you know, the fixed tie on either side and the moving tie in the middle, sort of thing. And what seems to be coming off to the right and down, I don't think it's part of the switch.
Okay.
Anyway, yes, cool photo. All right, so anyway, that's Memphis. All right, and so you're kind of looking through the roundhouse and you see the smokestack. And here's Huntsville. It's laid out very similar. And this photo was probably taken on the passenger depot dock. Okay, looking out over 3 tracks, the dock for the freight house, and then right into the to the roundhouse, and you can see the polygonal smokestack behind the kind of right side of the roundhouse. And this and there are very few photos of the Huntsville yard at the time of Civil War, but this clearly was. These are Yankee locomotives. Sometimes the photo is called blowing off steam, and so they got all these locomotives in the picture. You know, it's 10 or 11 to blow the whistle at the same time. You see all these plumes coming up. But anyway, and I'll show you a map here in just a second. The machine shop comes off the back of the roundhouse, and the smokestack that serves the machine shop and the stationary engine are just to the side of it. And then, I mean, several years ago, I'd already started my layout, and I was pretty, well, not far along, but far enough that I'd already put the plywood in Memphis and Huntsville when a historian that I met sent me a map of Huntsville from 1861. He said, "Are you interested?" I said, "Yeah." And it shows every inch of track in Huntsville. And so my layout is rather than 3 sidings between the freight depot and the passenger depot, I could only work in 2. But other than that, it's exactly what the the track plan was. So anyway, that photo I just showed you of blowing off steam, you can think of the camera kind of located at the bottom toward the left. It's looking across the tracks and the freight depot loading dock that you can kind of see kind of palely outlined. I don't know if you in here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so you're looking up, almost straight up, slightly to the right, and you're looking kind of through the roundhouse, and then there's the base of a square structure shown in the map, and that's probably the smokestack.
Wow.
And this F-shaped building that comes off the back of the roundhouse is the machine shop, and that's labeled in the map. And probably maybe this short arm of the F, this may have been the stationary engine in here. And in the back of the machine shop was the foundry. Wow. Right. And it's fun to think how you have to switch
Yes.
to get supplies into the foundry, coal and, iron ore, whatnot, pig iron. And so I've tried to maintain that upstairs as well. All right. So that's what I was trying to duplicate, this smokestack that at least on the map has got a square base.
Right.
Shaft may be more polygonal than a square, might be 8 sides, but anyway.
Question, Charlie.
Yeah.
What's the source of the map? Was that an engineer's map? Was it who did the map?
I tell you, after I can get out of this, I can tell you maybe in a few minutes. I think
Yeah, I was just wondering
No.
if that was like a standard like this is what they would do back then in 61 for different railroads. But anyway, we'll do that later. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be able to give us a title here in a little bit. But 61, it wasn't 62 when it was captured.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting.
For
Right.
our time, thing up to 65, when you say foundry, I just realizing, do they just work in iron, or do they have any kind, for this kind of thing, would they have any steel?
This machine shop or
Well, just
John's
any
saying-
kind of like home, to me, this kind of a home done machine shop.
this thing?
Yeah, for the
No,
railroad.
they could do anything.
Oh,
mean,
okay.
They could do everything it took to actually make or repair a locomotive. What is the machine shop there at Marietta? What the Glover Machine Works,
Oh, yeah.
that we toured. So it's going to be similar to that, and that they have patterns, beautiful mahogany patterns for
Right.
any wheel that they needed to cast in iron. So
They weren't doing steel back then, though, were they?
Wrought
they-
iron.
yeah, they didn't use much steel. They had some, but
Yeah, John's shaking his head. No, that's
Right.
enough. Yeah,
mostly iron.
got it.
Um,
They had enough trouble getting iron.
right.
That's for sure.
If the war had been fought about 20 years later, and Birmingham was completely online, it'd have been different. But yeah, because that turned out to be some of the best, iron to make steel in the country.
Ah,
All right, so that's Huntsville, and again, so this picture, this is my final product, but I'll tell you how I got there, and just it is backwards. I mean, it's the reverse of the map. Okay, so in this case,
right.
I'm at the smokestack. I'm looking through the roundhouse to the freight depot and the passenger depot beyond that. All right. So, it's just like Thom said, it's one of those rabbit holes you go down, kind of takes you forever to figure out how you're going to do it. And so I just dreading, I mean, how in the world can you, make the brick?
Fabricate it.
on the
Yeah.
side? But so, do I make, so I'm used to making brick paper and paper in the buildings and having to cut the corners on a miter to join them.
Right.
This tapered corner and the kind of extra detail on this thing. I was dreading it a little bit. But anyway, so there's a company, Altoona Model Works. Yeah, Altoona Model Works. And they are an HO and O. I forgot about N, but definitely HO and O. And so they had circular chimneys with square bases and square chimneys on square bases. So that's what I chose. And so it's a 19-inch tall model. For O scale, that's like 76, 77 feet. So
Wow.
it's real close to what I wanted.
Yeah.
And there are two plaster castings. There's the base, and then there's a separate, I'm gonna call it stack. And then they had a plastic piece that serves as that, that trim thing that I showed you from Charleston. And they recommended to paint it like it was cement, but I wanted to paint it like it was cut stone. And then they also supply you with a 1-inch MDF base and they say paint it like cement, but I wanted to carve that like stone.
Of course.
I mean, so at any rate, this is right before Christmas, I think, and I couldn't get to the art store to get my paint yet. And so anyway, this is the MDF, and I just drawn it up to carve like stone. And if I had it to do over, I would just go ahead and get a piece of basswood and carve that. I think it carves nicer, but anyway, I did this. And then behind that on the table there is that plastic piece that they recommended to
Right.
paint like cement. And I said, I actually put lines on it like I was going to carve it, but I said, there's no way I can carve this. And just got a piece of basswood and copied that shape.
I'm, s- did
Sorry.
you say that whole block? And that's not bass, it's the MDF, right?
Yeah, it's MDF. And again, I wouldn't do it again.
I get it. Yeah.
The finish isn't as nice, but I mean, it turned out pretty good. And so, on the layout, we're real used to finishing the cut stone. And so on all the abutments and the tunnel, that's carved basswood. And then we paint the whole thing dark gray. And then with, say, 2 or 3 dry brushings, with lighter and lighter grays, you get to the final cut
Mm.
stone appearance. And so that was my goal for this thing. All right. And about a couple of weeks before y'all got here in October, I'd finished my machine shop in Huntsville. And again, I used plywood and had it laser cut for the window openings and the kind of elliptical openings for
Mhm.
pedestrians, and then the end openings for the train. And then we'd print the brick paper and then have to kind of carefully cut that out for the openings.
You
And
printed the paper?
yeah. Mhm. So there's three different brick patterns on the layout. I mean, Chattanooga's slightly different from Memphis,
Mm.
slightly different from Huntsville. But in each city, I use the same brick.
Right.
So we print that and then cut it and then put it down with matte medium. Yeah, like a deck
Yep.
or something like that. All right. So anyway, so that's the color. I mean, I was hoping to end up with. All right, now this, does anybody or everybody know about, what is it? It's, Montana Gold, acrylic spray paint.
Oh,
Okay, so I'll show you a can just a sec. So it's called Montana Gold, acrylic spray paint. And it's 400 ml. So it's a big can. It's only about $6 a can. And they got lots of colors, and it's real close to flat finish. There's just a little bit of shine to it. All right. So these are the 2 closest colors. Something they call brick, but I thought it was actually too red. And I went with their color called Rusto Coat,
yep.
which really seemed like it did a better job of matching the core color of our brick paper, which I couldn't
Great.
change.
Yep.
All right, so I went with Rusto Coat. And so here I put 2 coats on each of the plaster castings and spray it from different directions. I mean, each spray. And so this is a kind of a pre-assembly, just making sure that that little flange that I made in basswood would fit. You actually you can see the plastic flange on the other side of the chimney that I didn't use.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've put the dark gray and maybe the first of the dry brushing, the second gray, and I still got a couple more coats of that to go. So here's the trial fit. So the way this thing goes together, the MDF base, I ended up screwing to the layout with 4
Ah,
countersunk wood screws. Okay. And then in the MDF base is a 1/2 inch hole for a wooden dowel that they give you, okay? And then there's a 1/2 inch hole, almost the full length of the plaster base.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you put the stone base down, you put the peg in the middle of that, and then you can slip the base of the brick structure on top of that, and but not glue it in place, not glue that in place. All right. So that's my trial assembly that everything would fit on that peg and whatnot. All right, and so if you go online, and I'm sure everybody here's got a way of doing it. Well, I was dreading this. If you look at finishing bricks, there are some people that will paint the whole model mortar colored,
Right.
and then they'll come in and basically dry brush the brick face. All right.
Right.
And then there's some people that will do the whole thing brick and let that dry, and then do the whole thing mortar color and then wipe that off while it's drying. And that seemed like a nightmare to me too, on that whole stack. And then I found somebody that will get the dry pigments like you use for weathering, and he'll dust the whole model, kind of work it into the mortar lines, and then you come back with a very fine brush. It's called a hake brush. And I'll show you it's HAKE, and it's actually sheep hair. It's a wool hair brush. It's real soft. It's very soft. And then you brush off the faces, to get most of the pigment off and just be left with the grout lines. So I've never done this before. I did another chimney with a different technique and just wasn't crazy about doing this big thing like that. So I've brushed it into the mortar lines. I'm brushing it off with that wool brush. And I get it to the point that I'm happy. This is no wooden table I have up in the train room. And you can see the foot of the table, this kind of right front foot of the table. I put some little shims of poster board under to get that table absolutely level before I glue this 19-inch chimney together crooked. And the glue that I found recommended is Aleene's Quick Tacky. I was thinking it had to be, some epoxy or super glue or something like that, but it's just this kind of acrylic Aleene's glue. It did
Yep.
great.
It's great stuff. Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
for plaster, I was surprised. And so I glue the two plaster parts together. You got to get them lined up. I mean, it's rotation and translationally. And then I also got some glue on the bottom of the stone piece, that intermediate piece. And it's glued a little bit to the chimney, but mostly to the brick base. All right, and so this chimney is absolutely dead center on this Huntsville Peninsula. The only way you can reach it is with the topside creeper. And so again, when y'all were up here in October, I had just kind of a circle left bare, kind of where I was going to put this. I didn't know the real shape of it yet. And so I put the cut stone base down and kind of landscape right up to it, let that dry. And then I screwed that base down and then put the chimney together on that wooden peg.
Right.
All right. And so the other thing, this brown area here beside it, this is where the machine shop goes. And I use wooden toy wheels, the simple little wooden wheels, and I glue those on the table in the corners. So I get the building position exactly like I want it. And then I'll take one thickness of an index card between you know, kind of each edge of the wheel to,
Yeah.
and then, so I can easily drop the building back in place, you know, time and time again. All right, so that's where the machine shop goes.
Great idea.
And again, these are the special players. Oh, and I forgot, I fixed, once I got the bricks like I want them, then I'll put 2 coats of this Army Painter flat matte varnish on. And,
Mm.
and it looks even better after you do that. I mean, it as far as luster, it's just about perfect. And then this is the Montana Gold. That's what those cans look like. And the pigment I used was the Viejo Desert Dust.
Mhm.
Oh, and then there's Aleene's Quick Dry Tacky. And this is that Hake brush, Hake, that I used to dust the extra pigment off. And there it is. And I think I couldn't be happier with the mortar lines. You know,
Yeah.
I think it turned out pretty well. But
Question,
that's all I got.
Charlie, the ornate section of the stack at the top,
Right.
was that molded as well? Because it didn't show in the photo when you showed the Altoona stacks.
No, it's on that also.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty. I mean, it's there are a lot of bricks on there if you think about carving it by
Hell
yourself,
yeah.
you know. Yeah. But anyway,
Charlie,
so
is that Army mat acrylic based? The Army,
I don't think so. I think it's it smells like paint thinner when it goes on.
Okay. The one on the left.
Yeah, I don't think it's acrylic. I think it's varnish.
I've
Right.
had bad luck with Krylon matte acrylic spray paint from one of the big rattle cans clouding up.
Yeah.
I've come very close to ruining a couple models, so I'm always looking for alternatives.
That sounds
Th-
great.
This stuff is awesome. And you know, Will Sherry, my nephew who did the mural.
Yeah.
When he does miniatures, you know, he put me on to it, you know, after he does a, you know, Army man or a mule or whatnot,
Right. Okay.
he'll hit it with that.
So,
Check that out.
yeah, so Charlie, I thought that idea of using those knobs, those wheels,
Yeah.
as a placeholder for the corners, how'd you come up with that?
I don't wanna bore everybody to death, but yeah, my dad was an optical physicist, and he would go ape on what's called kinematic design. All right, and anyway, when they would build a telescope that say might have an infrared spectrometer on the back of the telescope, when when as when they needed to take the spectrometer off the telescope and then put it back on the telescope, it had to go back to within an atom. You know what I mean? So he was just kind of eat up with accuracy
Right.
and kinematic design.
Right.
And so anyway,
It's genetic.
yes. But what's nice about those rounded wheels is, you know, if you're slightly off, the edge of the building just kind of slides off the curve until it gets tangent to that wheel.
Right.
And it's kind of a gentle way to coax it into position.
Yep.
Because some of these buildings are covered with you know, brick paper, and you know,
Yeah.
you keep beating on that and it's going to tear up. So
That's right.
it is a nice. So most of the buildings in the train room are located like that. Some of them have pegs in the bottom of the building that drop into holes on the layout, but and some of them are screwed into place.
Right.
But especially a building that you're going to be taking off. You know, if you have to lift it up to get to the train inside it, you know, if it, you know,
That's
breaks
right.
down. you got to realize it's going to be coming off at some point.
Yeah, early on, I decided, when I would think about, especially when I had that long car shed, I wanted all my buildings to be removable. So I've worked them in so that they can all come out, except for, I think there's 3 that a friend of mine built on my layout that on one level, unbeknownst to me, he anchored him in there. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You kidding? But anyway, they look great. But yeah, I get your point about always wanting to be able to get into them and not having them fixed.
Charlie,
Yeah.
can I ask a big favor of you?
Uh-oh.
Could you put together a note for those of us on the call? You got the information, but could you put together a list of the materials you use, like the paint and the powder and your sources for them, and then share with the group?
Yeah, that's why I had that slide, with giving the things, but yeah. I'll
Well, you know
do
what I could do? What I could do is when I post this, I'll mention those elements in the post, Charlie.
okay, yeah.
So if people
guess
go searching, it'll come up even if they're not looking for our group.
yeah, I'd be glad to. You have to.
I've always painted the mortar first.
Right.
I never did it reverse. Yeah.
But I tell you, this is so easy. I
Yeah.
mean, to just get to paint the brick, and then I hate to admit it, but it probably only took about 30 minutes to dust the whole stack, and maybe 5 minutes to brush it off.
Right.
And I'm in the garage getting ready to spray that lacquer, fix on it, and I still had that brush, and I could knock it down a little bit more, or I could even it out
Wow.
before I pull the trigger. So
Did you do one side at a time, or did you do all 4 sides on the chimney?
yeah. So I did it. I dusted them all 4 sides,
Okay,
and but I'm aware of what you're saying. You got to be careful about the corners, that they get a double dose of either the dusting or the fix. And so, but anyway, I do have okay, I lied on that, on the base, the brick base. I dusted all 4 sides and then fixed all 4 sides. I had a little turntable in a paint booth. And so I sprayed it and turned it and sprayed it. But the chimney, the long part, just barely fit in it's one of those Micromark cheapy spray booth sort of thing, those
Yeah.
fold out suitcases. It just barely fit in there. And so there's no way I could rotate it or turn it without putting my fingers on the work. And so I fixed them one side at a time. So I fixed it, let it dry, a couple hours, then I'd turn it 90, fix that. So the long part I did in, actually 8 doses, each side got 2 springs.
Right. That looks great.
I was at a dollhouse store and they mainly work in 112, so I don't know if that'd be G or bigger. But one of the things they use in dollhouse is you have your board or whatever you do brick on, and there's like a net you can put on it. You put the plaster over it to go just the thickness of the net. I assume let it dry a bit, and then when you pull the net up, then you've got a perfect brick thing, because then you got a nice rough surface for the brick. But I've never seen, if there's some kind of screen that would be the same spacing for brick that we could use, on smaller scales, it'd be cool, but I've never been able to find any.
So, have you ever played with dental plaster?
I got some, but I've never played with it.
So again, this is something that my nephew Will Shirey and also Charlie Curo, the artist, has helped me a bunch. We cast some crates and some other things that might be on a loading dock in that dental plaster. And I was amazed at how detailed and good it was. You know, I thought it'd be hard to paint, but it's not. And so I'm sure that this company, this Altoona Model Works, they say it's a pressurized plaster mold that they do, and it's amazing. I don't know how you can do it with a net. I mean, maybe in one of the coarser scales or something like that. But man, these, you know, the bricks are tiny. All these things. And again, it's in HO also. If y'all want to,
Yep.
need some stacks.
Um, you were saying something, Charlie, that triggered something. I just lost it. Dang it. What were just before you were talking about the, you know, HO and you can get it in all these. What was just before that? Oh, never mind. It'll come if it comes.
I'll be waiting.
Thank you, brother. Oh, I know. So what we saw of the machine shop, that one wall, that's where you're at. You've got that one wall just about completed.
No, where were you at the convention? No, no, all four
No,
walls
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
and the
kidding.
roof with the 800 tiles are
I,
completed. Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
Mhm.
Um, you have plans for any kind of op session down there?
Yeah, I did, you know, the entire city has been shut down. We got only 6 inches of snow, but it's been 0 degrees for a few days here.
Wow.
And we just had freezing rain today. So maybe when things thaw a little bit, think about it.
Feels like you should be here and I should be in Memphis because it's been we hardly got any snow and it's at least only freezing. I can't believe it's that bad in Memphis, but I get it. So no op sessions in the immediate future.
Not for a few days, but
Right.
But you should be able to get a lot of work done on the layout, Charlie.
well, I tell you that my next project is the stationary engine house, and I want to put a working steam engine in that.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so as soon as I find out the size of that thing, then I'll draw up the building. But I don't know if you remember that gorgeous building in Savannah. It's just this crazy looking building. It's just past the machine shop in Savannah. And
Yep.
you could go in there and see where the stationary engine was and
Right.
where the boiler was and whatnot. So anyway,
Cool. Thank you, Charlie.
oh yeah.
What
I was
else? have
talking
you-
to somebody and he mentioned that if people in their op sessions wanted to run actual smoke in their locomotives, they could do it, but they had to go through and do a complete track cleaning. Some people, they really want to run smoke, so they do it, they clean the track.
Yeah.
But with that smokestack like that, could you possibly drill a hole in the middle and run smoke and not have to clean all the track? Or
It'd be cool, but it may be that you could kind of have a fixed smoke plume. You may be able to paint a cotton ball or two or something like that, and come up with a plume of smoke. But yeah, I've got about 600 feet of track. I wouldn't be excited about cleaning that.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody else? What else? Well, just a little thing. I was down at DC's yesterday, and we're at the point where we're finally painting ties, or he is. I just came down to help him out, and the trains are running for most part. And I haven't been down there in a while. It was just great to see how much progress he's made on that. I mean, to have all the track down pretty much wired, the electronics in, and he's got trains running. That's fantastic. It was great. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. I wish we all lived a little bit closer to each other, but be that as it may. Yeah,
I'll try to get an update for the next session.
great. That'd be good. Yep. Let's see.
Charlie, on the stacks that you purchased, did they have any square stacks? Yeah, where the shaft is essentially encompassed by a square rise from the bottom?
You mean like mine?
Yours is square.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I guess that tells you what I've been smoking recently. Okay.
But
He's
I'm
an
sure
honest
it's a,
man.
I'm sure it's a
That
presentation.
explains
wasn't
the
it?
beard too.
What's that, Dan?
I said that explains the beard and the mustachio too.
Yeah. But it's not as square. Maybe that's the problem. I couldn't get past the beard.
Yeah, they
Okay. But I guess what I should have clarified that I hope they have that in HO, because the Manassas, whatever was back there has a square towered stack.
I think that was part of the presentation too. Was it, Charlie?
yeah, you're solid gold, man. They got square and circular.
And HO.
Yeah. And it's called Altoona Model Works.
Cool.
Are they from
Thank you.
Pennsylvania?
I'll wake up and come to the next one.
I forgot. So I ordered it. It didn't take too long to get here. It's pretty heavy. I mean, mine, 20 inches of plaster. And so it came double boxed, and the top box looked like it had been handled by a forklift. It had had a big hole in the box, and I'm thinking,
Oh my God.
there's no way. But it survived. It was fine.
So I think a couple of folks here are going to Amherst, right? Andy and Dan, right? Cool. Good. And then there's the Prototype Modelers Convention in March down near
24th through the
Baltimore.
24th.
What's that?
22nd through the 24th, I believe.
Right. Yeah, down near Baltimore. Yeah. I think those are the only events that I know of that are
I
coming
thought
up.
it was in Valley Forge.
There's, what, I got to clarify that because I think it was changed, but yeah, it's in that area. Yep. What else? Well, we're going to be, I think in the next meet, we'll start talking about our annual meet for the fall. And so if there's some thoughts you have about that, I've got one I'll present, and we'll start making some movements to choreograph in late September or early October meet. Ideally, it's always cool to try to get someplace where we can run some trains or see some trains and what have you. But if there's something that you think would be interesting, you can send me a note or just bring it up at the next Zoom meet, which will be in about a month.
The only thing I recommend is that you have an idea of what types of activities are in the area, so that it's not left all up to Thom to have to make all those decisions.
Yeah, as always, I'll work with you. We'll figure that out. you know. And I think enough of you guys know about this by now and have even been to some places with us. So you pretty much know the drill. Cool. Good. Who's going to do a layout update soon?
I just said I would. Are you smoking the same stuff Roger
No,
is?
you said if.
He must
If
have
you
been
said,
trying to prompt Ron.
Ron would be good. Love to see what Ron's up to.
ooh,
Ron,
Martinsburg.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'd love to see. I was just giving Thom an off ramp.
Wow. That will be a great one to see, Martinsburg. Oy, good, good. All right. Anything else, guys? Any questions? I'll probably think of what I forgot earlier as soon as I hang this up. Good. All right. Great to see you, fellas. Welcome to 2024. And I enjoy the posts that I see from some of you once in a while, or even the videos. I know Andy's done quite a few videos as well. So maybe that's the other thing I want to say. Wherever you can, take advantage of speaking about the railroads and our group, even if it's with family members, people that maybe you haven't even thought of. Because one of the things I'm really looking forward to doing is cultivating some new members for this year. So that's one. The other is, I was talking to Christina Zambri. Some of you might recognize her name. She's in our group. She's with the NMRA in the marketing department. And we're going to start submitting some photos through the bulletin. So if you think there's an article or photo or whatnot, and that you have, I would consider connecting with one of these media groups. I think the more that we can get our stuff out there, it's always fun to see your work out there, and even an article. And I think I might, you know what, Marty Vaughn, jump into another topic with respect to building and modeling. He just became he joined the NMRA again as a director, I think, of his division. So he's back in the game. And Marty, you might recall, was the national AP director for a while. And he's great to work with. If there's something that you think would be fun to do, even if it's a golden spike, because some of you guys could even get a golden spike, but it's fun to be in the process and get to know and meet other members of organizations that are building models. And there's such a brain trust out there. So just want to encourage you to, if there's something that you think you have an article about, or even some photos, we can even talk offline. Anyway, that's it for me. Good. Gentlemen, all the best to you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Have
Back
a
to you,
great
Thom.
rest of your month. Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I